Hi everyone, welcome to the Boxes and Bags Christmas class with Wendy Cranford and myself, Tracy Bish. I'm really happy to have you here today. With this class you're going to get 6 projects. There are 2 boxes, 2 bags and 2 craft gift boxes that will be decorated, and I'm sure you'll get so much enjoyment out of this class. It's also great to get ready for Christmas early, so this is the time to start getting ready so there's not that mad rush at the end. I've left all my details in the description of this video, so if you enjoy my projects, if you enjoy the way I've popped this class together on my side, please do follow me. I would love it if you did. If you're in Australia and you would like to purchase any Stampin' Up products, you can do so in my online store, and those details are also in the description of this video. Have a wonderful time with the class, and I would love to hear any feedback that you have, and I'll hopefully see you all very soon. Bye bye. Hi everyone, and welcome to the other part of this class. I'm so excited to be sharing these projects with you. We have a bag, a shadow box and a craft gift box that's been decorated as well. And these are so cute. I hope you enjoy them. We're using the Sweet Little Stockings bundle, as well as that beautiful Sweet Stockings Designer Series paper, the matte decorative dots, and also the gold and cherry cobbler ribbon. So we're starting off with our bag here. This is the first project. Our DSP measures 12 by 5.5, and we're going to score on the 12-inch side at 4, 5.5, 9.5 and 11 inches, and then we're going to turn it to the base of our bag here and score at the 1.5-inch side. So if you have a directional paper, make sure that you're scoring that 1.5 inch at the base for our base of our bag. So I've just folded and burnished on all those score lines. You could use a bone folder, but because it's Designer Series paper, you want to be just that little bit careful with it. So we're taking off that tiny, there's a tab on the side there, and that little rectangle, I'm taking that off and mitering on our tab. Then we're going to cut up on each of those score lines, and then our little squares that we have there, we're going to miter cut these in as well. And that just helps the bag to come together so much easily, and it doesn't create so much bulk. So there's a couple of reasons why we do that, and it just makes it so much easier when you're popping it all together. So we have this as our template. Now don't forget, you have all the PDF tutorials available as well, and that has all your measurements. We have a strip of the cherry cobbler card. This measures 11 by 1/2 inch. It's a little band that we're going to pop on the base of this bag, and we're using cherry cobbler ink, and in that beautiful stamp set there is a little stitch stamp. We're actually going to be stamping in the cherry cobbler on the bottom of that strip just to create a little bit of extra detail. I'm using this stitched stamp quite a bit in this class, so hopefully you enjoy using it. Also going to stamp in cherry cobbler ink our sentiment on our little piece of basic white. All the measurements are over on that PDF, so please go over and check out what you're going to need to cut up. So you can either place that strip down on your DSP right now, or you can put it down once our bag is together. It's completely up to you. I'm going to place some tear and tape down our little tab here, pull those backings off, and then we can attach our bag together. So where that little strip is at the back, that's going to be our back of our bag, and so that means that that front piece will be the last piece that we fold down. So I'm placing some tear and tape on that one and securing our bag together. Now I'm not going to put anything too heavy in that, but if you are, you can also add a little bit of tear and tape to those little square tabs as well, and that'll give that extra support for your bag. So just pinching the top of the bag here, and that really creates a nice little bag image. So I'm going to add some tear and tape strip to our cherry cobbler piece. You could use liquid adhesive as well, whatever works for you. I find liquid adhesive works really well, but you do have to hang on to it just for a few minutes to make sure that it's got a good hold on it. So we're just placing it on the bottom of our bag as we go around, and I think this just really sets the bag up completely. Just gives it a really good look. Okay, so there we have it. Now, with our lid, if you don't have the dies, you could just take that piece of cherry cobbler card, score it in half and use that as your lid. I'm using this beautiful big die from that die set, and we're going to cut that through the cut and emboss machine. I'm also using the layering circle dies, and I have the smallest circle for our white one, and we're also using the, didn't write that down, but it is on your PDF for your scalloped one, so I think it might be the second smallest. Anyway, have a look at your PDF for that one. Running out through the cut and emboss machine, I'm going to use my paper trimmer to score that tag in half. Like I said before, if you didn't have the die set, you can just score your piece of cardstock in half and use that as your lid. That works well as well. Okay, we're going to score that with our scoring tool because you want a nice crisp edge, but I'm also going to cut this little piece off on the end that we die cut our scallop from, and I'm going to use this for the inside of the bag, and it just secures it because we're adding ribbon inside our bag against DSP, and it needs a little bit of a support to make sure that it doesn't rip the designer series paper. It'll make sense as we create it. So we can just fold and score that one as well. Now we're going to start creating our box or decorating our box. One thing, these boxes or bags are really easy to recreate. You can make them bigger or smaller. Just take this design and change your measurements around to make them any size you want. So we're just going to bring that bone folder in and give that nice crisp edges there. And we're going to add tear and tape to the back piece of this lid. Now, you'll see me only put one strip of tear and tape down, and I'm not sure why I did that when I was creating this video. You need to make sure that that whole half piece has enough adhesive on it to secure it to your bag, because you are opening it and closing it. So I recommend putting 2 strips down there, one at the top, one at the score line there, and you'll be fine. Nothing's going to move. So just peeling that backing off, we're going to lay our bag in on top along that score line. So you want the top of your bag to run along that score line. The closure for this bag is that beautiful ribbon bow, and for that we're going to use a hole punch to punch holes through our both cardstock and designer series paper. I'm using this old hole punch. I've been crafting for many years, and I've had this in my stash forever. Use what you have, but because this hole's a little bit small to pop that ribbon through, I'm actually going to be punching a few holes to make that hole just that little bit larger. Once we have the hole in the center of our tag, I'm going to close the box up, use a pen, and just mark that center hole so we can punch out in the designer series paper as well, and that way those holes measure up. Probably very simple for a lot of people. This is one thing I've learnt along the way to make your life easier. It's always good when things match up. So we're just doing the same there, punching it a few times to create a little bit bigger of a hole. Okay, coming back to that piece of cherry cobbler cardstock, it has been scored in half. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 holes on one side of that score line. This is going to thread the cherry cobbler and gold ribbon through. It's also going to secure it behind our designer series paper inside. This not only helps protect the designer series paper, but it just gives it a little bit of stability and support as well. You could certainly leave this out if it's a step that you don't want to do. I like to be able to give something to someone who can continually keep using it if they want, or if they want to keep it and give to someone else, they can. So it's completely up to you if you want to use it this way. So I've used about 18 inches of that beautiful ribbon here. So we're just folding that through. We're going to add tear and tape to the inside piece to glue the 2 pieces together so it has that extra support. Then we're going to add tear and tape to the back, thread it through the bag, and then take off our tear and tape backings to attach to the bag. So it is secured to the inside of the bag to give that extra support and stability. Like I said, it is probably something that doesn't have to be done, but I find designer series paper can be extremely unforgiving with some 3D items, and especially as you're pulling ribbon through it all the time. So if someone's just a little bit heavy-handed, which some people can be, you want it to be able to survive a little bit of rough handling. So I've just glued the two pieces together. I'm going to add the tear and tape to the back as well, and then we can thread that through the bag. So you've got plenty of room and plenty of ribbon there to create a really nice, good bow. You make sure that you have enough ribbon to create the bows. Obviously, if you're a little bit, I'm not going to say stingy because that's probably not the word, but if you're trying to conserve ribbon, it might be a little bit hard to create a bow. And I found that the 18 inches was just perfect. Okay, so we're going to start threading this through, and I had a little bit of a trouble. If you have a pokey tool or a scoring tool, this can help to thread your ribbon through. So once it's threaded through your bag, we're going to take off those backings again, popping it to your bag. So hopefully you're enjoying this class. I hope that you get a little bit of inspiration from it and it gets you ready for Christmas. Personally, I love to create Christmas little treats and bags to give away to family and friends, and even just people that you deal with during the year. It is so amazing what a small gift, and I'm talking small, you don't have to put anything massive inside, a little chocolate, a little lolly or candy, whatever you want to call them. They really do go a long way, and it's so nice to get something or to give something at this time of year to let people know that you're thinking of them. So these could be made a little bit smaller, so you could make more of them, and they would fit, you know, a Cadbury frog or a caramello, anything like that. Although maybe summertime's not the best time to be giving those out. I always struggle at Christmas time because it's too hot for chocolate, but it's really hard to get some good, decent gifts inside. Maybe if you're a baker, you could make some biscuits or cookies and pop them inside as well, shortbread maybe. So I'm just going to pop this through our lid as well, and this is where I'm showing you the scoring tool works really well for that. And then we can create our nice little bow. So let me know, I would love to hear what treats you send at Christmas time if you make little boxes and bags. I love to send out both gift tags and like card packs. I find that they're always well received, and it's something that doesn't melt, or you know, they don't have to eat straight away, so which is always nice. So because we have pulled those through those holes, your ends are going to be a little bit how's your father, but we can just trim them off really quickly and easily. So we have our little sentiment that's going to go down the bottom. I'm going to use some dimensionals to pop on both the back of the basic white as well as the cherry cobbler, and then we're going to bring some of those beautiful matte decorative dots in. I love how they come in so many different colors. I love how they're in ombre, so they go from light to very dark, and they're perfect for this. You're going to get a ton in the pack if you purchase them to use on many projects. So if you haven't seen them, you haven't thought about them, please think again, because they are a really great additive to any craft cards as well as gift boxes and bags if you're creating some more. So we're just going to pop that down on the bottom corner, and I'm adding 3 of these beautiful dots. So they come in a few different sizes as well, which is really great that you have so much variety. So you've got small, really small, medium, and some larger ones there as well. But look at those ombre colors. So there's red, yellow, green, and a bluey green. So I'd say cherry cobbler, daffodil delight, old olive, and what I think is evening evergreen. But because they're ombre, it's a little hard to tell. So we're just going to pop 3 of those down, And that is the bag for this class. Just love those little corgis in the front. So cute. This paper is absolutely beautiful. So we're going to move over to our box, which is our second one. This is a shadow box card, or shadow box, and I really enjoyed creating this one for you. Now I'm hoping that you can get a Kit Kat like this one. They come in a few different varieties here in Australia, so I did ask Wendy and she said that you can get them over there. So maybe this is one of those cheap and inexpensive gifts that you can give out to family and friends as well. So starting off with that beautiful Evening Evergreen. This design series paper you could also use so many different colours, but I really wanted to bring that Evening Evergreen in. So this piece measures 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. The inside dimension of this box is 3 by 3, so you can change the measurements around if you need a bigger box or a smaller box. And I think I'll try and do a video over on my YouTube channel on how to create a shadow box to suit anything that you're after. So if you're interested in being able to know more about that, please go over and subscribe to my channel. So on all 4 sides we are going to score at 3/8 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 3/8 of an inch and 2 inches on all 4 sides. We're also going to make a partial score line on opposite sides of one side, and this is going to be at the 2 3/8 of an inch. So once we finish off all these ones here, so we have all 4 sides. Now we're going to do a partial score line. So I'm going to pop it at the 2 3/8 of an inch, and we're just going to score down to that second score line there. So I'll pop it in. We're scoring down from the top to the second score line, but then we're going to go to the very bottom and score from the second score line down to the very bottom. So those top and bottom, first 2 score lines at the top and the bottom, they're going to be scored. Turning it around the other way, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So there's going to be 2 score lines at the top, 2 partial score lines down the bottom. There we go, we can see that. Now there is a template in the PDF, so please go over and check that out as well. So we're going to fold and burnish on all those score lines, and I know this looks super confusing, so please have a look at that template. It really is quite easy once you put your head around it, but I will say I've made quite a few of these now that it has taken me a little while to get my head around how they work. So we're going to fold and score, and you really do need to score well on this because it helps the box to come together. Just like when you're creating any box or bag, the score lines, especially on cardstock, is super important because it does help the project go together. DSP is another thing. Because we have so many different thicknesses of DSP, I recommend using your finger as your scoring tool rather than a scoring tool, because in the thinner DSPs you will find that it'll actually tear your paper. So that's my old template that I used. I'll have a better template on your PDF. So looking at those 2 little partial score lines, top and bottom, down to that second score line, we're going to cut up to that second score line. The next part we're going to make is from that mark, we're going to go diagonally to the other score line. Then I'm going to, the next score line along, which is the 2 inch one, we're going to cut up to that 4th score line. Next one along, we're going to cut up to that 4th score line again, and then we're going to cut off that little tab. So we're cutting off 3 of those little squares. We're going to miter cut at that tab, which is just taking a slither off both sides. That bottom tab we're going to cut off at a miter cut as well, and all that side piece is going to come off completely. So we are getting rid of quite a bit of cardstock as we're cutting this down, but it'll go together perfectly. So each corner is going to look like this. We're going to do the same for all 4 corners. So up our partial score line diagonally. The next score line we're going to cut all the way up to the 4th score line, all the way up again. We're going to take off all that edge, cutting our little tab, miter cutting the tab, and then miter cutting the bigger tab down the bottom. So it's left us with that. Let's turn it around the other way. We're going to do exactly the same, and I have sped this up, but you can slow it down. You can do time after time, but please have a look at that template because it is all there for you. And yeah, take your time with it, because if you make a mistake, you're going to have to start all over again, which is really not fun to do. So once we have all 4 done, we're going to add some tear and tape. You can use liquid adhesive with this one. I recommend using tear and tape. It holds it a little bit better, and with liquid adhesive, although you've got that wiggle room, you're going to have to hang on to it for a few minutes to make sure it has a good solid hold. So completely up to you. I would recommend creating this with just a scrap bit of paper first before using your proper cardstock. So we're going to pop tear and tape on our 4 little tiny squares tabs, as well as 4 of our larger tabs all the way around the edges. Like I said, if you want to use liquid adhesive, do 4 tabs at a time and then do the other 4 tabs just for ease. So once we have all this on, we're going to work on the 2 side ones. So they're the ones without, we're going to work on the 4 little tabs first and pop our bottom of the box together. And I get a little bit off camera, so I really apologize. I didn't realize I was going off camera. So we're just taking all 4 little tabs off first, and this creates that bottom part of the box. So I'm just going to have a quick look. The inside dimension of the box is 3 by 3, but the outside of the box measures, let's have a quick look, 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, so it's a decent sized box. So we're just taking and placing our corners together on each of those 4 corners. So the basic box principle right there. Easy. Okay, now these ones here, so we didn't really cut at all. They're the ones that we didn't touch. So I'm going to take the backing off, but I want to show you how the box goes together. You're going to roll that in so that sits right at the base of that box. And then when it rolls over, that piece that's the tab that has the sticky strip on it or the tear and tape on it is going to roll over to that bottom part of the box. This is a really hard box to put together, so I do recommend just creating one with a scrap piece of copy paper or printer paper, just so you understand how it works, because it's really hard to see it quite easily. So I've rolled it down so it hits the corner of the box, and then rolled it over so that strip of sticky tear and tape hits the bottom of the box and holds in place. So I've done that on both sides there, and that's the sides. So this one here, which is where we did our angle cut, this creates a really nice corner on our box. Now one thing, you don't have to put anything there to hold it down, but it will sort of sit up a little bit. So I recommend using glue dots. You could also use just a little tiny dab of liquid adhesive as well, but I'm using glue dots. I find they work really well. I'm just popping a glue dot on either corner on the inside of that corner, and I'll bring it up to the camera just to show you really quickly where I've popped it. And we're going to do the same on both sides. So take the sticky strip off, tear and tape off, so it's right on the very edge. So I'm going to roll that in to the side of the box, right into the corner, and then roll it forward. And then if any of that little glue dot is visible, you can just use your pokey tool to stick that back in underneath, and it really gives it a really nice cornered edge. It's just beautiful. So we're doing the same on the other side, a little glue dot on each corner, taking our tear and tape adhesive backing off, rolling it over so it's sitting right in the corner. So that bottom edge is right in the corner, and then rolling it forward. Perfect. And then you have the best shadow box. Really, really cute. And this fits that beautiful Kit Kat. You do have to fold the top and the bottom in, but it fits in fine. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to use our cherry cobbler banding, our belly band. This measures 9.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And we're going to do that stitching detail stamping on the top and bottom of this one as well. So I'm using cherry cobbler ink. I'm going to stamp the top and the bottom. And this just, I don't know, it really makes it stand out. So, but you could use another stamp if you would like to stamp the candy cane or a present or anything like that. You could do that as well. Use whatever you have, use whatever you would like. You can swap and change things around any way you like. That's what's really great about crafting. So I have scored this piece of cardstock. You can either score it or you can just wrap it around your box. I know different people that would rather wrap around rather than scoring. So whatever works for you. If you're going to score it, you can score it at 3/4 of an inch, 1 3/8 of an inch, 5 1/4, and 5 7/8. And that will get it all the way around perfectly. One thing, because it is a belly band, you do need to not make it super tight as you place it around. You want to give it a little bit of wiggle room because you want to be able to pull it off and then pull it back on again. If it's too tight and you put it on, once it's off, it probably will not go back on again. So completely be careful when you're popping it together. With the designer series paper, I'll show you as I get to it. I decided not to score that, but if you do, you can score it at the same measurements that you scored the cherry cobbler cardstock. That would work. I find it's just as easy to just push it all around and do it that way. And it works with the cardstock as well. I do both, so I swap and change depending on my mood. I just thought it'd probably be easier if I give you the dimensions of the scoring. Okay, so we're going to add some tear and tape to the back of that to pop it together. And always when you're using belly bands, whether it's for a card, whether it's for a project, always place it around either the card or the project when you're securing it together, because you need to be able to give that extra wiggle room. And the only way to make sure that you have that little extra bit is to place it around that item. We have also a evening evergreen card when we're popping it together. Now I have used this circle layering dies for that piece of green evergreen circle there, and I've used the 3rd largest, so I'm just letting you know as I'm doing this, just in case I forget to tell you later on. So this would fit a few other different objects in. You could put anything in there really. 3x3 is a fairly good size to be sticking anything inside. So if you don't like Kit Kats or you don't want to give out Kit Kats, you can put anything in there. You could even do sectional areas in there to put smaller objects in, or multiple smaller objects in. So that slides in and out perfectly. So I'm going to bring in that designer series paper, and this is where I'm going to show you how easy it is just to place it around, pinching the corners of your designer series paper. Because we've already got the belly band on and we know that it's going to slide on and off perfectly, you want your designer series paper to go around nice and snugly and tightly. There's no give in that one. So because I've got my little marks there, I'm just going to use my fingers to make sure that they're centered so it's not skew-whiff, and I'm just scoring it with my fingers. Now you could certainly use liquid adhesive for this one to stick that down. I've gone with tear and tape, and I have no idea why. I should have used just liquid adhesive. It would have been a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. So please use the liquid purpose, multi-purpose liquid glue. That's what it is. So it's great. You could use different designer series paper for this, or even in that little stockings designer series paper, you could choose a different designer series paper if you would like. There's lots of different options that you could create. So I'm going to I add it all the way around actually, I think. So we're using our supplies today. So hopefully you're enjoying this class. I've certainly really enjoyed creating these projects for you and working with Wendy. I think this is a class right up my alley. I absolutely love boxes and bags and 3D projects. So if you enjoy creating these sorts of things, make sure you are subscribed, or you have already subscribed to my YouTube channel. I like to do all these sorts of projects, especially at Christmas time. So just making sure it's up the right way. Not that it really matters, because you can just flip it around the other way, but these are things that I do. Now this is a problem with tear and tape. It's super strong, so you've got to be careful with what you're doing. As you can see, I had attached it to the wrong spot, but it came up without too much issue. But that liquid adhesive gives you that little bit of wiggle room, so I highly recommend using your multi-purpose glue. How cute is this paper? Little kittens, little cats, little hamsters. This paper has just about every animal included, every pet included, except for a German Shepherd. But anyway, so we have 2 bits of Whisper White cardstock here. Sorry, not Whisper White, basic white cardstock. And we're going to use our Cherry Cobbler ink, and we're going to stamp the sentiment on that large rectangle, or the big rectangle. And then with our other little square, I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo black ink, stamp the little puppy. And I'm going to leave him to dry, because we're going to colour him in with some stamping blends, but I like to leave the Memento to dry a little bit before I use the stamping blends, because it can make the ink bleed a little bit, and it just doesn't look so nice. So there is the Evening Evergreen circle. Like I said before, it's from the third largest circle. So while we're waiting for the cherry cobbler, because my cherry cobbler is super juicy, so it takes a little bit to dry as well, we're going to lay our ribbon behind that circle, that Evening Evergreen circle. This is really pretty ribbon. It's gold and cherry cobbler and works so well with all these projects. So I'm going to place some tear and tape behind the circle. Once again, as you can see, I have no problems in using a lot of tear and tape or a lot of dimensionals in my projects. Look, they're pretty cheap, and yeah, I'd rather use a lot of it and not have my projects fall apart. But you could probably use a little bit less than what I've used here. I just wanted to make sure that every part of the ribbon as I put it down was stuck down without falling off. So it's probably more just so I didn't embarrass myself. So I've got plenty of the tear and tape down. I'm going to layer the ribbon behind, and we're just creating that. I'm not even sure what the effect is called, but we're just layering it over and over and over again, which looks so pretty. I'm going to cut that off down the bottom at an angle as well. And that gives it a really nice look. So pretty easy. We're going to pop some dimensionals on the back of that and then stick it down onto the treat holder. Now you could, if you didn't want to have that extra pop-up, just use either tear and tape or liquid adhesive to secure it down onto the project. As you can see, I'm going to use quite a few. I don't think I've ever had a project or a card fall apart in the mail, so that's always a bonus. And if you didn't know, dimensionals, you can use the whole sheet. So the sides are called bones, which are perfect to cut up or to use as larger objects that you could place down. So make sure you're using all your dimensionals. So we should be right to start colouring in that little puppy. I've gone with crumb cake, and I've left his little eyes white. Probably not very realistic, but hey, he looks cute. So we have light and dark in the stamping blends. They come in a combo. These are alcohol-based markers. They make really easy colouring, and they're a great beginner item. So what you can do is you can go in with your dark and colour in the areas where there is shadow or where you want a little bit darker. Then you go over with the light. It blends the two colours together perfectly. And even if you want to go back in and add a little bit of dark on the top to create a little bit of extra shadow, you can do that as well. But like I said, these are very easy to use. I've never been a big in colouring, but I absolutely love these stamping blends. They come in a lot of different colours. They're not in all colours, but there is a ton that you can choose from, and I absolutely love them. So we have that. Now if you don't have the dies, you can do a quick fussy cut around that little puppy. I've got the die, so I'm just going to run that through my cut and emboss machine, and then to attach it to the sentiment, I wanted to do something a little cute. So he's got his little paws there. I'm going to bring in some glue dots here and just add a glue dot to each of his little paws, and then I'm going to add it to the sentiment so it looks like he's sort of sitting over on the sentiment saying hello, which I thought was really, really cute. And I'm doing it on my next project as well, because once I find a little idea, I like to stick with it and keep doing it. So I'm going to use just liquid adhesive for this one, so liquid glue. You could pop it up if you want, completely up to you. I just thought it had enough of a bit of a pop up with that circle, so we're just going to glue it down, straight down. So cute. So I have the little puppy on this project, and on the next project I have the hamster and the kitten. But if you have that stamp set, you could choose any of the animals that you would like to pop on the top. So lastly, we're going to bring in those matte decorative dots and add a few down. So I've gone with the red, and I think a evening evergreen sort of one, just to match in with that card. So there's our second project. Super cute. I love it. So we're going to move on to the next one. This is the craft box. These you can purchase through Stampin' Up. They come in a pack of 10 and they're super cute. Now if you're creating homemade gifts this year, I think they're a must to have. You could place cookies inside. These are perfect size for your cards. So if you want to make a set of cards and pop them together, you could do that as well. So I'm just going to fold and burnish on all those score lines. They come already with the adhesive attached. So how simple is that? That is such a wonderful idea. I think Stampin' Up are amazing. So we're just going to make sure that you're folding back on your little tabs as well. Be careful because you could break them off. So you want to be really careful with how you handle this. So the part where it has the window, we're going to stamp little presents as well as stars using the crumb cake ink, and I will bring in a scrap bit of paper here just so I'm not stamping too far over the edge. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, but I wanted to keep it so it wasn't too messy. Now these are food grade. Most of our packaging that you can purchase through Stampin' Up are food grade, so it means that you can safely put food products inside and there is nothing that's going to go wrong. So it's a really great idea. And I know a lot of people do create different cookies and ideas at Christmas time, so it's a cheap way of giving out little gifts. So I'm just filling in those areas around the presents with the little stars. I've popped the presents down and moved the stamp around so it's not sitting in one way. They're stamped all round in different directions. That is a really good tip there. Okay, so we can start popping our box together. And I am not sure the correct way. I've done this 2 ways. So you can either fully create that bottom box, which is what I'm doing here now, by putting all 4 sides to the bottom of the box, or you can put that one, the last ones that I just did, to the lid. I'm really not sure. I'll have to look into it a little bit further. They both work, so I'm not sure which one's the better way to go. So quickly, easily, the best box to make. Now we're going to work with our belly band. This is a piece of that designer series paper, measures 2 inches by 12 inches, and I'm just wrapping it around. I haven't scored it anywhere. I'm just pinching the sides. This is so simple, so quick to put together. So I'm using my fingers here just to pinch the edges of the DSP, and that gives it that really nice effect as well. So I'm going to pop some tear and tape on both sides of this designer series paper. So it's not going to go anywhere. Don't forget, this is a belly band, so you're going to need to make sure that you have that little bit of wiggle room so it can come off and come back on again. You don't want it too tight. What else do we have? So I've used the same tag that we used for our bag on this project, and I'm cutting those tags out in both pool party cardstock as well as that beautiful designer series paper. I went with those stockings background. I thought that was really cute, so that's what we've gone with. If you don't have this die, you could just use those squares. You could cut it any way you would like, so completely up to you. I've stamped the Christmas greetings sentiment with cherry cobbler ink, and then I'm coming in with the memento, and I've stamped the hamster as well as the cat. You could use any of the 3 animals, and I was going to do a dog as well, but I thought I better use the hamster and the cat this time round. So I have popped those through the die, and we have those die cut. I'm going to angle them to the side, and I'm just going to use liquid adhesive to put those 2 together. If you don't want to secure them together, you don't have to. But I just wanted to make it easier for myself by securing it all together. And I've grabbed that pool party out of that designer series paper. So each designer series paper that Stampin' Up bring out, they have a colour combo in with that pack, and you can see it on the label of each of the designer series papers. If you're new to Stampin' Up, this is a magnificent idea that they have. It makes complete easiness to create projects by taking the guesswork out of colour combos. So always have a look at those. If they're together on a designer series paper, they go together. So really great idea for those beginners. So bringing that gold and cherry cobbler ribbon back in, I'm creating a really quick and easy bow. And we're going to secure that to the top of those ties. Now I did use some liquid adhesive and just popped it on the top of those tags, because I only want to secure it down onto that belly band. You don't want to put it on your box at all, otherwise you're not going to be opening your box. So a little tip for you there, make sure that you're only putting enough glue on the back of your tags that is going to go down on the part of the belly band. So I've popped a couple of glue dots down. That ribbon is not going to go anywhere. And doesn't that look so cute? Okay. While we're still waiting for that memento to dry a little bit, I'm going to come in and fussy cut around that sentiment. A little tip when you're fussy cutting, because I find I'm doing a lot more fussy cutting lately, is your scissor hand is just going up and down. You're just opening and closing your scissors. Your other hand is what is moving that cardstock around. You're manipulating the card or the paper around to where it needs to be cut. So that is the easiest way to do fussy cutting, and the paper snips that Stampin' Up sell make it so much easier. They are super sharp. They can get into those little fine areas. So I highly recommend, if you don't have paper snips, please go out and purchase a pair, because it'll just make your life so much easier. So we're going to do a little bit of colouring. I've got the Smoky Slate combo in the Stamping Blends for the cat, and we're using the crumb cake again for the hamster. I'm just doing really simple colouring in, going in with the dark, coming back in with the light and blending them out. And I do come back in and just add a little bit of dark to his whiskers and his ears as well. So these are really cute little critters in this set, and I love that this stamp set has not just the critters, it has candy canes and presents and so many different little items that you can use at Christmas time as well. So you're not just limited to animals, and I love that. It is sort of a one-stop shop for Christmas, really. So I'm going to come back in with the dark and just add in those little elements just to create a little bit more depth in the cat. I have with my sample, and I don't know why, but I fussy cut out both those animals. I think I forgot that I had the die set when I was creating. I don't know. I have on this one, I'll go and die cut these images out, but you'll see on my sample the cat's whiskers I've gotten in really close as I've been fussy cutting. With the die, it actually leaves a white border around. So I ummed and ahed whether I was going to fussy cut a little bit closer to his whiskers. I ended up leaving it, but I'm not really sure whether I'm happy with the white around the whiskers. So if I create something with the cat again, I think I'll be fussy cutting him rather than... See how you can see the white around? And it's personal choice, I know, but I don't know. I just really don't know whether I was real happy with it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the same as we did for the box. I'm going to bring in some glue dots here, add them to the paws, and then we can add them to the sentiment. So it's sort of they're sitting over on the sentiment. This looks so good. And just paired them all together as well. So we're also going to pop some dimensionals on the backings and pop them up onto the tags. And this is our final project. So I really hope that you've enjoyed all three of my projects. I'll have another couple of projects over on my YouTube channel really soon, and probably before if you haven't seen them. I'll just have a few little sneak peeks and teasers for people to join the class. So if you have enjoyed the projects that I have done today and you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, you could do that. I also have a Facebook page and a blog, so please go over and subscribe to those. I have emails going out on my blog just about every week, and I give out a free tutorial for everyone who is subscribed each month. So another reason to come over and sign up for my emails. I really appreciate everyone who has signed up for this class. I really hope that you've enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear any feedback that you have. And of course, we've got so many of those matte dots that I'm just going to chuck a few down on this as well. I think I've got 3, and I've gone with, what did I go? Red, green and yellow, I think. Fantastic. Alright everyone, thank you so much. I really hope that I'll see you all very soon, and I really hope that you've enjoyed these projects. If you live in Australia and you would like to purchase any of the Stampin' Up products that I've used or any other products, you can do so in my online store.